Hello and welcome to the first video of the Dentistry Made Simple channel. The topic for today is Kennedy's classification and Applegate's rules. Kennedy's classification is the most widely used classification for partially edentulous arch. It was developed by Edward Kennedy in the 1920s. This classification is based on the relationship of the edentulous arch to the remaining abutment teeth. There are 4 classes in this classification. Class 1 is when there are bilateral edentulous areas located posterior to the remaining natural teeth. This is an example of Class 1 since there are missing teeth posteriorly on both sides of the arch. Class 2 is when there is unilateral edentulous area located posterior to the remaining natural teeth. This is an example of Class 2 since there is only one edentulous area on one side of the arch. Class 3 is when there is a unilateral edentulous area with natural teeth both anterior and posterior to it. This is an example of Class 3 since there are natural teeth found anterior and posterior to the edentulous area. Class 4 is when there is a single bilateral edentulous area crossing the midline located anterior to the remaining natural teeth. This is an example of Class 4. Since there is a single anterior edentulous area crossing the midline. There are 8 Applegate's rules that will help in the application of Kennedy classification. Rule 1 states that classification should follow rather than precede any extractions of teeth that might alter the original classification. In this example, if second and third molars will be extracted on one side of the arch, it will not be Class 3 anymore and it will be Class 2. Rule 2 states that as the third molar is missing and is not to be replaced, it is not considered in the classification. In this example, the third molar is missing and will not be replaced, so it will not be Class 1. It will be Class 2 since the edentulous area is unilateral. Rule 3 states that if a third molar is present and is to be used as an abutment, it is considered in the classification. In this example, the third molar is present and will be used as an abutment, so this will no longer be Class 2. It will be Class 3 since there are remaining natural teeth anterior and posterior to the edentulous space. Rule 4 states that if a second molar is missing and is not to be replaced, it is not considered in the classification. In this example, the second and third molars are absent on both sides and will not be replaced, so it will be classified as Class 3 instead of Class 1. Rule 5 states that the most posterior edentulous area or areas always determine the classification. In this example, there are 2 edentulous areas, but the posterior one will determine the classification, so this is an example of Class 3 Modification 1. Modifications will be discussed in the next rule. Rule 6 states that edentulous areas other than those that determine the classification are referred to as modifications, and are designated by their number. In this example, there are 2 posterior edentulous areas that will determine the classification as Class 1, and there is one more edentulous space anteriorly, so it is Class 1 Modification 1. Rule 7 states that the extent of the modification is not considered, but only the number of additional edentulous areas. Modification is based on the number of edentulous areas, not the number of missing teeth. In this example, one of the 2 posterior areas will be used for the classification, so it is Class 3, and there are 2 more edentulous spaces found, so it is Class 3 Modification 2. Rule 8 states that no modification areas can be included in Class 4 arches. The other edentulous areas will have to be posterior to this edentulous space and will hence determine the classification. Thanks for watching. Hope you liked the video.